Hello everyone, in this video I want to show you how to make lasting and reasonably good quality electrical connections using just a simple pliers. So this is my, as you can see, rusty but trusty simple pliers. It has a gripping end at the front. It's a tin nose pliers, I suppose, which makes it quite useful for electrical connections, but any old pliers generally will do the same job. It also has a little cutting functionality at the bottom, okay, but it's just a simple pliers that most people will have in their shed, generally for working on electrical connections. What professionals will use is a crimping tool. So this is I suppose a simple bog standard cheap professional crimping tool, but this would be where you'd really start with creating professional crimped connections. Okay, now I'm going to presume that you don't have even this, which a lot of people will not have these sort of crimping tools in their toolbox, or even the more advanced ones that professionals will have. But you will get stuck in a situation where you might need to create an electrical connection. So it's good to know how to do it with just a simple tool, just the simple pliers, which you'll probably find in the toolbox of your motorcycle. So I've already crimped some connections here, as you can see. And what I want to just first of all advise you is to get the right connections. So these new connections here, okay, these are the connections that you will find in most automotive parts stores. They'll generally come in a colour like blue, yellow, red, various different colours, but they will look very similar to this. There will be an electrical connection. Here's a male and here's the female. They slot in, okay, together to form an electrical connection. And in theory what you should be doing is you should be cutting off the insulator off the end of this wire. You should be sticking it in here. You should be taking your pliers and you should be just squeezing down on the pliers to crimp the connection on. And you will have a connection and you will think you're all good, but these are absolutely useless. Okay, so avoid these. The reason being that they only have one end here. There's only one part to crimp. So you stick the wire in. This is what's inside the insulator. So the wire will go in here, or the insulator, and you will crimp down on it. And it just doesn't create a good connection. Okay, that will come off your wire very quickly. So what you want to use are these connections here, okay, so they have a double grip. So let me take my screwdriver to point it. So at the rear of the connection, this this little, what would you call it, I suppose metal flap, two metal flaps, one on either side of the connection. This is for gripping the actual insulator, and then there's two metal flaps in the middle here. These two here, they're actually, you'll notice that they're shorter. They're not as tall as the ones at the rear. These ones are for gripping the wire and creating a good electrical connection. So let me just demonstrate how I use my pliers, my simple pliers, to create these electrical connections. So the first thing I need to do is I need to cut a little piece off the electrical wire. Now I use the cutting end of the pliers. Now if you use too much force, you will just cut straight through and off will come the end of your wire, which is no good. Insulator and copper. So what you want to do is you want to just press down on it, just a little bit of force, and keep twisting it around the wire. Just turn it around a few times and keep crushing the insulator. And that will weaken the insulator and make it easy to come off. Okay, so just go easy. You don't want to cut into the copper wire. You don't need to cut the whole way through the insulator. Okay, so with the insulator, you can see it's quite damaged now, but the copper wire should be untouched. So make sure I grab it where I have loosened it. So I get a grip of the insulator and I should pull it off like so. And now there is the insulator, hollow insulator. No copper wire has come off, and I can leave that to the side. And on my electrical wire I have a little bit of copper protruding out. Okay, so clean it up at the end, the copper. You don't want pieces of copper all over the place, because it strands of copper. It comes in, there's probably about 20 wires of copper, fine wire copper, making up this one wire. So I take my connection and in this case I will put the spade type. There's two types. There's the bullet type, which goes in and out quite easily, and then there is the spade type. So this is the spade type. It's more flat. Okay, actually I'll use the female. I'll use the female for the spade type. So what I want to do, it might be easier, is if I actually take my connection and I'm just going to crimp. I'm going to take the needle nose, one end of the needle nose, place it behind the electrical connection at an angle, as you can see, just a slight angle, and then the other end of it should be touching the tip of the rear flap, and I'm just going to press it down just ever so slightly. Don't need to be too forceful, just get it down a little. Okay, so I have it partly pressed down, as you can see, but not folded in the whole way. And now I'm going to put my wire through. Just make sure that it's twist it a little bit, make sure it goes through nice and easily. So I slot it in. Okay, and I slot it through, and I want the insulator section of the wire to just barely fit in. So hopefully you can see that. I just want to get it as exact as I can. So I have the insulator just slightly inside the connection, and now I'm going to press down that flap and give it a good press. So it's going to grip the insulator. So that's its role. And then on the other side, we're going to do the exact same with the second flap at the rear. We're just going to fold it down, press it in at the side first, and then we're going to press down on that good and tight. Make sure that that is nicely gripping my insulator. I'm going to go back to the other side, and I'm just going to press on it again from this side. Good pressure. And now my electrical connection has gripped onto the insulator. Okay, now you can see here the insulator is only barely inside the connector. It actually just comes in as far as here, and then it's copper wire the rest of the way. So that's what you want. To a certain degree, there's almost too much copper wire. I could have cut off less insulator. I only need enough copper wire inside here that it actually possibly comes just inside as far as here. So I probably have 1 or 2 millimeters too much. So I take now my pliers again, and again I'm going to take the one end of the needle nose pliers at the rear, and then the other end is going to go on the tip of the flap at an angle. So this is the angle, hopefully you can see that, and it's going to allow me to push, just slowly put a bit of pressure on, and I'm going to push that flap inwards towards the middle of the connector, like so, and it's going to grip the wire. I give it a good squeeze, I turn it around, and I go to the second flap in the middle, and again at a bit of an angle, I just want to push down on that flap, and there we go. So now we have the rear flaps gripping the insulator. That stops it from coming off, the connection coming away from the wire, and then the middle flaps are gripping the copper wire itself, not really for grip to try, but more to create a good secure electrical connection. That's what that's about. So it's good connection with the copper wire. And now we have an electrical connection that can be slotted in to my male, or a male can slot into the female, like so. And there we have a good electrical connection. And if I give it a little bit of pressure, I can see that the connections are not, I'm pulling quite hard here, the wires, and the electrical connections are staying on the wires. That is very important. Now if you put enough force, these electrical connections will come off the wires on either side with enough force, but they should be strong enough that they can withstand a good bit of pressure. Okay, so test your connections as well, and I'm happy enough with that. I can also put more insulators on here, something like heat shrink or something like that if you wanted, or there's special plastic covers, insulator covers that go over these that I didn't bother putting on. I just wanted to show you how to create those connections with that simple pliers for those of you who don't have the crimping tool. Will a crimping tool do a whole lot better a job? I don't know if it'll do it a whole lot better, to be honest. I have done some connection here with the crimping tool. Let me see which, this one here. It does really it really does push down on the flaps and crimp it into the wire. But it can actually damage it a little bit, I find, because it can actually push nearly too much. But yeah, these connections, it's not 100 miles off what you'd get with a crimper. And again, this is just really to get you out of a fix. If you're stuck on the open road with a loose wire connection, this method will really come in handy. So hopefully you found that useful, and you'll be able to use it on your own motorcycle. So thanks for watching. Bye.